Hi everybody, I'm Jamie. Thank you for tuning in. I always like to recap last week's games at a glance, talk through some waiver wire pickups for this week, my pick'ems for this week, as well as some DFS plays, if you will, like I do. So let's dive into week 8. I'm wearing my Emmanuel Sanders jersey. This is another one of my jerseys that's biting the dust in terms of relevance or being up to date. If you've been following along, you've noticed I have an unfortunate knack for that. I tend to get jerseys as gifts or get jerseys of players that are retiring, get traded, sometimes multiple times after the fact, and of teams that just leave altogether from your hometown city if you're from St. Louis. And in that case, it leaves you with burn-worthy jerseys, in my opinion, but I didn't burn my jerseys. I was tempted to. They would never do that to me. I know they love him too much in Denver, and I think they're going to love him in San Francisco. This is the one thing that I've been saying San Francisco has been missing to take them to elite status, as if being undefeated is not good enough, but I feel like this has been that one thing that could potentially hold them back, when it comes to playoff time, and that they've been missing. In the past, they've had somebody like Pierre Garçon that has been a strong anchor in their offense and a good safety option. And I think having Emmanuel Sanders will do just that and take a little bit of the pressure off of somebody like Marquise Goodwin or Dante Pettis that could have a little bit more runway to be more involved in the offense. So hopefully that bodes well for them. On the reverse side, you want to keep an eye on Courtland Sutton. If you've got Courtland Sutton and you're starting him, which most probably aren't, but maybe you got him as a flex option, or maybe you've got really great running backs, but have Courtland Sutton as like your wide receiver 3. Keep an eye on him. Obviously, he's really their only option in that offense now moving forward, so they're going to try to probably shut him down. So hopefully they got somebody that can take a little bit of the pressure off of him too, so that he can continue to perform as he has this year, because he's been great. But something to keep in mind, and with Emmanuel Sanders at the same time, it takes a little bit of time to settle into an offense. I'm sure with Kyle Shanahan at the helm that they've got a great vision for him, and there's no better offense that I would be wanting to go into as a wide receiver midseason. So I think it's a great fit for him. Other big news is Mohamed Sanu. I think this is just another toy in the chest for the Patriots, and at this point, they've already got Josh Gordon. They've got Jacoby Myers that they've been leaning on very heavily in the absence of Josh Gordon, and Julian Edelman's their guy. So Mohamed Sanu is walking into another situation where it's like this 3 or maybe 4-headed monster that you just don't know what type of target share he's going to get. I think this is really great for Calvin Ridley owners and Julio Jones owners who finally are getting like a binary system in that offense, whereas they've had Mohamed Sanu, you just didn't know who was going to get the call that day. So great news for Julio Jones owners, I think, and Calvin Ridley owners if you're starting him in your wide receiver 3 or flex option. Other big news, David Johnson really just not playing at all, playing one snap and calling it quits. If you got DJ, I think you got to pick up Chase Edmonds for sure if you already haven't. It seems like DJ has not been ruled out this week, but it's a back issue. Hopefully it's short term and doesn't, spin into anything else or anything more severe. It's kind of funny. It's not funny if you're a DJ owner, but it's funny in general that Adam Schefter said that Chase Edmonds was spotted throwing up in a trash can because he played all the snaps. They only dressed 2 running backs, and he made a joke that he was throwing up just like probably DJ owner. So I feel for you. Tough loss if you lost because of it. I'm sure it was close if you didn't lose. So hopefully you're able to hold on for the win. Some big wins this week from the Colts against the Texans. Great win for them. Saints, big win. Teddy Bridgewater undefeated. Ravens taking a big win against the Seahawks. So I think that really shows that they are, the real deal. Cowboys, it was a make-or-break win against the Eagles for them. And the Vikings really needed a win against the Lions to stay in the hunt, especially with the Packers running away with things. I think the NFC North and the NFC South are going to make some strong plays for wild card positions, but it looks like the Panthers and the Vikings are going to make a play for the playoffs so far. When it comes to pickups, Ty Johnson's number 1 on my list. He's 1% owned. It seems like he's going to be the person that they're going to be leaning towards for the Lions. They've got J.D. McKissick too, who I think is more of a pass-catching option. Ty Johnson seems to be more of the complete running back, but play at your own risk, of course. Whoever you like better, but it's anybody's guess at this point. They say Ty Johnson's their guy, but who knows if J.D. McKissick brings it this week, maybe they go with him. Ty Johnson played 49 snaps. He had 29 rushing yards. Wasn't great yards per carry wise, but had 57 total yards altogether. I also like Mark Waltman. I mean, if you really need a running back, or if you're like me and you've got Kenyon Drake like deep on your bench, he wasn't quite what we thought he would be this year. Mark Waltman seems to be the guy, so he's a good option potentially. At the tight end position, Chris Herndon, he's coming back at some point. If you need somebody this week, maybe don't go with him. If Gerald Everett's available, he's been really good. Jacob Hollister is another good option. He seems to be the guy that Seattle's leaning towards, not Luke Wilson, with Will Dissly out for Seattle. Quarterback-wise, Ryan Tannehill seems to be good. Small sample size, so take it at what you will. But 2 touchdowns, 312 options, better than what Marcus Mariota has been doing. And I think they'll be playing from down. He's 5% owned. Sam Darnold, another option. Rough week for him. Obviously, Minshew is a good option, and Andy Dalton had a bounce-back week. They're always going to be playing from behind. And he's really only had one bad week. Of course, one of the weeks I started him. But Sam Darnold, 33% owned, viable option. At the wide receiver position, Kenny Stills is at the top of many's list with Will Fuller out for quite a bit. He's 12% owned. He was 4-5 for 105 yards. Devontae Parker is another option. Many people are leaning towards Devontae Parker. Another great option, too, is Preston Williams, in my opinion. He's had 2 back-to-back good weeks. Obviously, there was a little bit of quarterback share last week with Josh Rosen and Ryan Fitzpatrick, but Ryan Fitzpatrick was the guy. He targeted Preston Williams 8 times, 6 receptions for 82 yards. He just didn't get into the end zone. Another option, Corey Davis is back to being mildly relevant again for this week anyway. Another guy that I like is A.J. Brown. He had 8 targets this week. Corey Davis had 7. Corey Davis was the one that got into the end zone. So things to consider. So if you don't get one, there are more options potentially. I mentioned Danny Amendola earlier. If you really get desperate, he could be an interesting play if you need somebody for the week. I just don't think that he's sustainable down the long run. I did a little bit of digging this week. I was just interested at what defenses were giving up the most points. And just a fun fact, the Bucs and the Dolphins have 5 games at this point that they've given 30 plus or more points up in. So the Bucs have been getting torn apart. And just behind them are the Browns and the Redskins, giving up 30 or more points in 4 games. The last 2 weeks, however, the Falcons and the Eagles have given up 30 or more points. So they're not on a great trend, but they've had some tough matchups, to say the least. When it comes to DFS, I took some of those things into account when thinking about matchups. So my quarterback and wide receiver combo, and I think these are value combos that will allow you to go high on running backs this week. If you want, for somebody like Saquon Barkley, you can go Ryan Tannehill with either A.J. Brown. I also like Corey Davis. So A.J. Brown's 4,100, Corey Davis is 4,400, and Tannehill's only 5,100. So I like him. At the running back position, I like Josh Jacobs again, as long as he's healthy. I know he was a little bit in and out, but he came back this week, thankfully. I needed him too. Chris Carson's another option. He's playing against Atlanta this week. He's 7,000. If you want to dumpster dive or go on the low end, Ty Johnson could be an interesting player, J.D. McKissick. Ty Johnson's 4,900. At the wide receiver position, I can't believe that Allen Robinson's still only $6,000 in DFS. He's had 7 targets or more every single game, even with multiple quarterbacks playing, which, obviously sometimes people gel a little bit differently, but I've been really impressed with how he's been settling into that offense this year. Courtland Sutton, I know I said he's kind of all they've got, but he's still only 5,300. He's had 7 targets every single game. And at the tight end position, I really like Hunter Henry. He's 4,900. He's had 8 targets both weeks, and that's really cheap for him. I'm sure he's going to go up, especially if he has a big week this week. Defensively, I like the Colts playing against the Browns, and then I also like the Jags playing against the Jets. They're both 2,900. So that's all I got for this week. I hope all of your fantasy endeavors are going fantastically. And if you want to know what jerseys not to get, just pretty much get any jersey that I don't wear, and you'll be in the clear. As always, tweet at me. I'm happy to talk through any fantasy plays or that you have coming up this week, or if you're wondering who you should sit, who you should start. I'm at fantasy_more. Feel free to comment below. And have a great week, everyone.